Well, so we have to do mainstream discussions this morning. A lot of things have been ongoing over the period, but over the weekend we had the NDC convening their youth national executive elections. It took place at the Pentecost Convention Center, Bomwa Fete. And we have a number of personalities in the studio. The Deputy Minister of Communication, Nenyi George Andah, Member of Parliament for Ewutu Senior West, is also here. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my brother.
How was your weekend?
It was a weekend of medical outreach in the constituency.
Okay.
Yesterday, I supported the Ghana most beautiful rep from the Central Region, Tiwa, we also, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate your colleague, not from this station, but the GJA Journalist of the Year. And Bernard, I think that he really deserves it. I realized that your multimedia also took about 10 awards.
We took 7 out of 10 awards.
7 out of 10 awards. So congratulations. I hope that this would help us get journalists to promote Ghana. I mean, trying to balance the negative reportage with the positive reportage so that we can promote Ghana and we can all get together and move forward.
Sometimes you feel like reports are negative, too negative.
I think sometimes they are, and I think
you feel sometimes they are not fair.
Okay, I think the word is rather not fair, not negative, and I think that sometimes there's some misinformation, and sometimes the producers don't take their time to get together real facts behind, and then they go on a certain tangent, and it's a bit unfortunate. But I mean, we are partners in this together. It's also our responsibility to be providing the accurate and timely information, and I think sometimes both sides, when we get it wrong, we should be able to say that, listen, I got it wrong, and I'm going to try and make it better next time going forward.
Well, we have a journalist, a former practicing journalist, but also Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Alhassan Suhini here. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning, Roland.
Yeah, you monitored the awards as well. Seth Kwame Boateng, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, Ernest Menu winning for the first time. David Andah has been regular in his category for the last 3 years, and we've had the host of Latif Idris also honored within the period. So it was a good period for the multimedia group. 7 out of the 10 awards, ultimately by JoyNews, and 3 by the other subsidiaries in the group.
Yes, so congratulations is in place to all my friends, Latif, Joseph, and others who picked up awards for themselves and for this multimedia group. I also wish to, like my honorable colleague, congratulate Bernard Able, who took the biggest award of the night. I have always maintained that he remains the sane voice in the media, and he has been like that for some time now. And I had the privilege of working with him briefly in 2006, 2007, and I have always said that perhaps if I had continued to work with Bernard, not necessarily the station, but with Bernard, perhaps I would have never considered leaving journalism.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very positive.
He has a beautiful brain. He is driven by just his conscience and what is fair. And I think that is what attracted some of us into the profession in the first place. And I want to congratulate him from the bottom of my heart. I think he has been Journalist of the Year for a very long time before the night that he was crowned. And he deserves every bit of it. I hope that up-and-coming journalists will use him as a yardstick, as a standard. And I hope he will not also slip. He will keep the...
Also slip.
Yeah, I mean, some of these things, it happens. Sometimes people get to a certain
sometimes
level.
We don't get it.
I think we're just being
It is
fair.
only human. It is only human that we pray he doesn't slip. You know, because he has maintained a very high standard for a very long time, and that is why he is recognized today. But being human, in place. If we pray that he doesn't slip, he maintains that standard, and we hope others will emulate that standard. And our journalism in this country will be the better for it, and our country will be served, better than it is being served. I think that the Minister of Information designate also made some useful, points on the day, when especially he urged, media owners to pay practitioners better. He will know better, just as I will also know, because we have been in the field and we know how sometimes
we are poorly paid,
terribly paid,
terribly.
Yeah. So and if we demand better, it is only fair that we pay for it, or at least we create the enabling conditions for people to carry out what they enjoy doing in an atmosphere that is, inspiring and motivating.
If I may add just a bit,
yes, you can.
About the remuneration.
No, not just about the remuneration. I think, to add to what he's saying, content is the name of the game going forward. And for those that are generating content, we should make sure that we provide the right environment, the right resources to enable them to provide the right quality of content, because that's what's going to draw listenership and then draw eyeballs to you. On the flip side, not on the flip side, but in addition, I think that whilst we are all congratulating Bernard and the rest of the journalists that won, we should also recognize those who work behind the scenes. I'm like coming here, everybody will see your face, okay? But the number of people that are behind the cameras, the number of people that are in the production studio, the people that are directing and stuff like that, I think that we should also recognize their efforts. And then finally, and I'm sure that my brother would agree with me here, there's been this issue about the number of journalists that have been beating. Okay, recently when Koko Anyido, who was incarcerated, there's this issue that still seems not to have been fully addressed, and I think that is taking a bit too long for the police to identify whoever was involved. And
with Latif Idris,
Latif. Well, I didn't want to mention his name, but yeah, it is the latest one is the Latif one that I was referring to. Okay, if journalists are being maltreated in the course of doing their work, and the appropriate agency doesn't seem to be forthcoming with the right kind of punishment for those that were involved, then I think it's a bit of a cause of concern. Okay, so yes, remuneration of the journalists should be looked at. Yes, the quality of the production should be looked at, the balance of the stories, but we should also talk to those that are harassing, for want of a better word, harassing some of these journalists that are in the court, that are being beaten because of doing their work.
Can verbal harassment also be harassment? Because sometimes it is, yes. You're hosting, and so it's in the what you're saying. But on the other hand,
to some extent, I don't know what you would describe as verbal harassment. Because you see, wait a minute, if it is anything to go by, I'm sure my producers, when I used to be on radio, would have taken me on several. Because for me, in the course of the program, whatever has to go into the production to make it perfect, if I have to scream, if I have to, shout to get the things done, I'll get it done. But after the show, we are friends. We go have breakfast together and all of that.
And I think
but in the course of
that,
your style. But I'm saying that if you say verbal, somebody can say you shouted during the production and it will be verbal.
Don't say it every time.
But that's just my way. Roland, I want to make an unpopular request, especially in regard to the way we practice journalism in this country. You see, elsewhere, there's nothing wrong with a media house or a journalist identifying with an ideology and still practicing as a journalist, mindful of the ethics of the profession, that is fairness and accuracy. But he tells you he's a Democrat, he's a Republican, but he's a journalist. Now, in this country over the years, we have pretended that neutrality, especially in some cases, is the way to go. So, for example, we have had a situation, and this is an observation, it can be wrong, where when a particular tradition is in government, the name of the game is hold the government accountable. And nothing good about the government is your responsibility in the media to project. It is for the government and their PR machine to do that. You in the media is to highlight the negatives. Then when another tradition is in office, and that's an observation, like I said, it can be wrong, but that's an observation I have made. The name of the game changes to neutrality. And that is where they say, MPP says, NDC says, we don't know. And then they stay in the middle, forgetting that the requirement of journalism is also for you to educate. And so after you have, what do you call it, informed by way of telling us what NDC has said and what MPP has said, you should move beyond the information to educate who is right. That is usually done in some cases, like I have said. But what I want to propose, which I say is unpopular, is that in my view, in this country, the sports journalists have been able to do it right. And maybe those of us who are also in political and current affairs journalism must learn from the sports journalists.
Maybe it's because there's no MPP and DC in sports.
No, there is Kotoko and Haas in sports. And we know journalists who are Kotoko supporters, but they are journalists. But they still do their work. And people know. So when they are presenting news, sports news, you take it with a pinch of salt because you know he's a Kotoko supporter, even though he's a sports journalist.
So you're saying there are some journalists who practice and based on what they churn out, and their good position, you get to know that they're MPP or NDC.
It's good for you to know. Yes,
when one tradition is in power.
It's good for the news consumer to know what may inform your biases on a matter. It's very important, even as you strive for fairness. It is important for the consumer to know that you may have been influenced by A, B, or C. Just like the sports presenter, everybody who is listening to a Kotoko sports journalist on a commentary in a match between Kotoko and Haas will not refuse to listen, but will listen with caution that, okay, I know where this guy is coming from, and will pick what is fair and what is jokes.
Made your point.
So my point is that maybe the political journalists should learn from the sports journalists. Let us declare our ideology, if we have one, and stop the pretense, because some of us can see through the pretense.
In the light of the feedback, I think one of the concerns, is also
more
sometimes
like observations.
One of the observations is also sometimes the way the online team picks up stories from the discussion. I mean, sometimes it's out of context, sometimes it's wrongly reported, and unfortunately, it looks like online runs very, very fast.
Yeah,
so
fast.
We have a discussion here. I pass a comment, he passes a comment, online team picks it up, add a different twist to it.
In the name of driving traffic.
And then other news tabloids pick it up and it goes. So even by the time that you correct what was misreported from the source, okay, it becomes very difficult to fix whatever has been carried out.
MyJoyNews.com. By the time you see my news GH has picked it up, celebrities.com, then we're gone.
Ghana Web.
Ghana Web. That's uncontrollable.
That's another one. Yen.com.
Yen.com GH. Okay, but
congratulations to Atu as well. I see his
Atuafo is now the new MD for Graphic Communications Group.
And Justice Adobe, he also picked up an award. Very good friend of mine.
So that's okay. But let's go to. But we'll survive, right?
What will survive?
Atuafo, and going to a public. Sometimes.
Why do you have reason to feel?
No. I know Atuafo very well. I used to work with him back at TV3, so I know him very, very well. Anyway, but let's move on. Let's go on to the next stage. We are expecting to get the latest update from the campus of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Technology. We know that the school has been closed down, but apparently the lecturers are expected to embark on a strike action or a protest this morning. And Erastus Asaridonko will be getting to us the latest information from the campus, and we'll also get to know from the Utah chapter rep on the campus of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and all that. But let me start with George. We know about the umpire, subsequently what happened, and then now we have an interim council, we're told, which has generated some feedback from normal commentators, educationists, etc. Your own comments on what has transpired so far and the action taken by government.
Okay, if I could take us a bit further back, that the genesis of the situation in campus seems to be with a policy to increase female enrollment, and obviously to make sure that they had also a fair share of the accommodation facilities. It looks like in implementing the policy there have been challenges with that, and that has resulted in a number of issues, including some reported assaults or brutalities by the security of the university campus. If you listen to the SRC or the students, it looks like their recent protests were not directly driven by the implementation of the policy, but because of the violence that they claim they were suffering. It's most unfortunate that this resulted in a demonstration that led to the destruction of significant property on campus. Government then had to come in and intervene and shut down the university. And I believe that the intervention of government at that time was extremely timely. There have been a number of engagements since then, and I believe that the engagements are still ongoing. Government is resolved to make sure that we can address the concerns of all parties and to make sure that the university campus is opened as soon as possible. It's also quite gratifying to notice the intervention that the Chancellor of the University seems to have put in, and I believe that from the postures of most of the parties involved in this, I think that there will be a fair and amicable resolution within the shortest possible time, so normalcy can return to campus. But we should all realize that violence is not a means of addressing issues. Sometimes when my brother Suhini and I come on TV, or I post a picture of Suhini and I, the kind of comments that I get, I'm sure that if people see Suhini and I outside here, they won't believe that we are friends. Okay, we can disagree on issues, but you never get Suhini and I insulting each other. You never get us trading blows and stuff like that. We can disagree on issues, and I think that is the essence of democracy. So it's unfortunate, and indeed it must be criticized that violence to express a position should not be the way to go going forward.
You know, I think that so far government handling of what has happened at KNUST have left so much to be desired. We have to be very honest about it. And perhaps people who are controlling the processes on behalf of government should begin to apply some brakes before, you know, it spirals out of control. Yes, we know how it all started. The students went on a demonstration because they thought that some things were not done right. On that basis, I support the decision by the students to boycott lectures and to demonstrate, because it is their democratic right to so do, and so you can't take that away from them, especially if they have grievances that they at the time said they had. What I condemn is if you like, for want of a better word, the distraction that they engage in the course of the demonstration. I think that one is condemnable and is unacceptable. It cannot be justified under any circumstance. And the students must be told in their faces that even though they had that democratic right, and some of us support them when they decided to demonstrate, their rights did not include the vandalism that they engage in at the end of the day. Now, unfortunately, some of the suspicions...
The beating by the security forces as well.
Yeah.
Whilst we're criticizing or condemning the students, I think
what I'm saying is that there were allegations, they had issues. They had issues that the security and others had Marande, and so they went on a demonstration. That I support. The demonstration I support, because if you have issues, you go on a demonstration. But the vandalism is what we cannot, entertain and accept at all. And the students must know that. Now, when you follow some of the things that have been said about the developments at KNUST, you are left wondering which one to believe, because here we are, the security seem to be complaining of violence towards them by the students, and the students are also claiming that the security have molested them. So it leaves you wondering who is right.
Well, perhaps the management should have stepped in at some point. But we have Erastus Asari Donko. Good morning to you. He's your correspondent on the campus this morning. What can you tell us is the atmosphere on campus, and what actions, as we're hearing, are the lecturers intending to take in relation to their states and the actions that they intend taking, or that has been taken, and having the setting up of an interim council, so to speak?
Well, it's a very cloudy morning in Kumasi this morning, and it looks like it's about to rain. But then there's another rain that seems to be forming with the clouds, and that is the demonstration that the local branch of the University Teachers Association of Ghana threatened this morning. We spoke with the president yesterday, that's Professor Foucault, who confirmed that indeed this morning lecturers will be converging at KNUST, and they will be marching on a demonstration with red armbands and headgears through some streets of the university this morning to register further their protest and their displeasure with the dissolution of the council and other matters. So that is what we are expecting this morning. We are yet to get to the venue for the demonstration to find out whether they are converging, but I think in a few minutes we'll be able to appraise our listeners with what is happening on campus.
But on what point or position are they trying to embark on the strike action? Just for what reason? Because?
Well, when we spoke with them in the course of last week, what they said was that they are not happy with government's treatment of the issues that have occurred at KNUST. One, they would have expected that government, in the least, will constitute a committee, an independent committee that will liaise between the various stakeholders in this impasse to be able to find a lasting solution. But for government to come out to dissolve the council and set up an interim council where the vice chancellor himself is not part, but his other counterpart in this whole impasse is on that board, and I'm referring to the SRC president. They themselves, as lecturers on campus who are stakeholders, are also not represented on that council. And so they made a statement, emphatic statement, that they do not recognize the interim council. They never will. They want the old council restored immediately. And that was the main thing that they were demanding. That I asked him when the demonstration or the strike will end, and he's saying that the only end to the strike will be for government to restore the old council and allow the university statutes and other provisions to work in resolving this impasse. So that is what they are demanding now.
Okay. Do you know whether the VC is still the VC or he's been asked to step aside, so to speak?
No, as of the last time we checked, he's still the Vice Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
Well, we'll see how that goes. Thank you very much. Erastus Asari Donko, monitoring activities on the campus of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And the latest is telling us is that, which actually is going to be part of our Slag this morning, is that the UTAC chapter of the KNUST, as the lecturers of the school, they are going to embark on a demonstration. I mean, perhaps not laden with vandalism, etc., but they are going to walk on the streets, going to wear red armbands, etc. That's what they intend doing this morning. We'll bring you the latest pictures.
I was saying that government handling of the situation have left so much to be desired, and there's a need for those who are acting on behalf of government on this matter to apply some brakes. Because you see, first of all, you had some alumni presenting a petition to His Excellency the President to act on the proposed conversion of one of the halls into a mixed hall. We do not know what became of that petition. Then you had the Minister of Education, Minister of State in charge of tertiary, Professor Yanka, eulogizing the Vice Chancellor and supporting, you know, the decision to convert this hall into a mixed hall, and indicating that it was in line with global trends of integration and all of that. So you have all of these happening only for the students to embark on a demonstration, and people in government, example, or in the party that is in government, example, the youth organizer, the national organizer, the youth authority boards and others, all, you know, pointing to the reason why the students are demonstrating and indicating that it had to do with the conversion of a hall, and so for which reason the Vice Chancellor must go, only for the students to come and tell us that, hey, wait a minute, our demonstration largely was not about the conversion of the hall, I mean, into a mixed, you know, hall. And so take your time, chill, let's resolve this matter. Then, you know, with that same overzealousness that is aimed at, you know, perhaps just calling the Vice Chancellor giving him a bad name and hanging him, they jump into the matter and form an interim management committee, which is even laughable. You know, you have not a management committee, but an interim council. Now you have a council that you claim failed, and then you are forming an interim council, and 5 of the members of the interim council are from the old council. Apart from that, because, you see, Roland, because that decision is so reckless and not well thought through, look at what it has done. It has actually united the students now with management, because UTAC and the students are now walking the same path and speaking the same language. People who were supposed to be at loggerheads, for which reason there was a demonstration on the campus, and you came in to intervene, but because you do not understand the issues and you already had your own issue that you are using to inform your decision, you have jumped into the matter recklessly and have now forced the feuding parties to unite against you. I mean, I think it is a shame. It is an embarrassment on the part of government, and they must just back off this matter and allow, you know, their due processes to be followed. The students say they have started talking with management. You know, UTAC says we are engaging with management and the students. So what is government's business and the fascination and the obsession with intervening at all costs, if not because of a certain agenda that I think is unhealthy and unholy, especially because of what, you know, its party leaders have told us. The fixation on getting one man out. For what reason, I can't tell. I don't even want to speculate. But why should that be, you know, the fixation of government? Is it to find a lasting solution to the problems that led to the demonstration, which the students, the UTAG members, and the school administration say they are beginning to find a solution to? I think that government must be held responsible for the confusion that we see now. I mean, like I said,
is a confusion.
There's a confusion, and government must be held responsible.
And the latest we're even getting is that the Deputy Minister of Education, Professor Yahweh Duchum, has already just indicated on another forum that the Vice Chancellor has been asked by the National Council for Tertiary Education to set aside, and
that is his
position is going to be taken over by the Pro-Vice Chancellor.
Just hold on. Now I said I didn't want to speculate, but permit me to speculate now. Because you have this matter, permit me to speculate now. You see, when the Vice Chancellor for Winneba was removed, under what many of us said were political circumstances, people didn't pay attention. Now, immediately the Vice Chancellor of Winneba was removed, a certain Agrifin wrote a letter to the Vice Chancellor of Legon and the Vice Chancellor of KNUST, asking them to vacate because, in his view, whatever fate befell the Vice Chancellor of Winneba will befall them too, and that it is a movement to get them all out. And you see, it has been like that since January 2017. So you're claiming
it's a conspiracy that's been hatched?
Every institution.
From the beginning?
Look, every institution that have had people who have been appointed based on merit, based on qualification, because perhaps some people have certain motives or certain suspicions, and especially because maybe it was done under a certain regime, they have to be removed by all means. Even the Electoral Commission hasn't been spared. So who else can survive in this country?
That's speculation.
But you see, we are building a dangerous country. We are building a very dangerous country with that kind of mentality. So from day one, it is clear that there is that obsession and fixation to remove the Vice Chancellor, whether he is guilty or not. And that is what is protracting this matter and creating more confusion than required.
Now we're getting the news that the Vice Chancellor has been asked by the National Council for Tertiary Education. Of course, it's an independent body, though. They control.
Well, I haven't heard this news. I'm not privy to it.
It's a media platform. We're telling you.
I haven't heard it. I'm not privy to it. I've not seen it on any official platform, and I've just sent a text to try and confirm. And of course, like you said, the National Council for Tertiary Education is independent of government. Okay, so to try and suggest that government has a motive, and government's management of the situation it's pretty problematic for me. I think that it is a bit unfair. And Roland, I am sure that you and I sitting here would not have had it easy if the government hadn't intervened to shut down the university, following the advice of the Regional Security Council. And indeed, you and I are aware that this impasse has been on for a while. UTAG, SRC, University Management and Administration were all key to a possible resolution of this matter. It resulted in the violent demonstrations and the destruction of property that we all witnessed. If today cool heads are prevailing, we shouldn't assume that without any intervention, those cool heads would have prevailed. I think that we should recognize the efforts that have been done. We should support a resolution, an amicable resolution to restore the university to normalcy. But to go on to be saying that government has an agenda to move a VC, I think is too far-fetched and is uncalled for. For me, the focus should be getting cool heads to prevail and engaging, the quality of engagement, the timeliness of the engagement to bring the university to normalcy.
We have to move on.
If I could just clarify one bit. You see, I agree with him that the NCT is supposed to be an independent institution.
It is an independent. It is not supposed to be.
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. Let's not kid ourselves. We know that, it's under the Ministry of Education. And when you were even bringing the information to us, who did you say broke it? Is it the director of the NCT?
The Deputy Minister of Education.
Exactly. And the Deputy Minister
Professor
of Education is who? Is he not a representative of the president? Is that not government? So why are we running away from the fact that if the NCT is the one doing it and the Minister of Education is the one informing us, then is he the Minister of Information? Why is he the one informing us?
You're assuming,
so I'm telling
you that information is accurate. I mean,
I'm saying that if that's
sometimes being patient is a way to go.
If that's information, well, we are.
You haven't
Roland,
seen.
Roland is the host.
But Roland hasn't.
He is tabling the issues here.
Can Roland show us a statement? Can Roland show us a statement from the deputy minister? I don't even need a statement from Roland.
We've had the deputy minister of education, Professor Yawedu, to make a public statement on a media outlet, and so it's a public information.
No,
Where?
You see, Roland, the
Where?
information I need,
Where?
I have,
Where?
and that information is that the youth organizer, the national organizer of the NPP, the national youth organizer of the NPP, and others have all told us that the vice chancellor will go, even before today.
You see,
for what they are not telling us.
You see,
but we can speculate and we can tell that perhaps it is because of that agenda that I'm talking about. Because the students are telling you that it hasn't gotten to a point where you have to dissolve a council. Why do you jump into it to dissolve a council? UTAC is telling you it hasn't gotten there yet. We are still resolving the matter. Now you are even moving from dissolving a council to asking the man, according to the information you are giving us, to step aside. Because from day one, that has been the motive. Right. Even though there may be issues within the campus that have to be dealt with, you are not interested in resolving the issues that have to be resolved. You are interested in pursuing your narrow partisan political agenda, which is unfair to this country.
That's speculative.
That is not. That is not, Roland.
Please,
Roland. Don't the issues add up to you?
I insist that at this moment, the most responsible thing to do is for cool heads to prevail. Okay, I'm not privy to the information that you have put out here. I'm not in a position to say it is true or it is not true. But the fact that I'm not privy to it, I cannot speak to it. Okay, and I think that at this point we should stop the speculations, okay, and monitor the efforts that are being put in place by all stakeholders to ensure that the university reverts to normalcy.
All right. Now, there's an ongoing concern among the various players in the commercial transport industry that commercial transport fares could go up. Before we came onto the show, we spoke to a representative of the Committed Drivers Association of Ghana, and we'll speak to that person. But in the meantime, though, we'll also have to move on to the subject of the NDC electing their youth leaders over the weekend. And so I have to start with you. It was a very important election as far as your calendar is concerned for the election of national executives.
Yes, very, very important. I was thinking we were going to discuss the fuel and transport fare matter, but I hope we will make time to discuss that also. But as for the Youth Congress, it was a beautiful one. I mean, I wish to first of all congratulate all those who contested. I mean, it's not easy to contest an election, let alone win. And so I first of all want to congratulate all those who contested. I mean, their decision to contest has contributed to the revival of our party. The fact that they traveled the length and breadth of this country, they interacted with the delegates of the party, and they kept the spirit of the party alive, earns them that congratulations that I am sending their way. Again, those who won, I mean, Pablo, I think it was written on the wall. Many of us are not surprised. If you were a keen observer of the contest, you knew that he was the one in the lead, even though the rest, especially Bronya, was chipping away some of his support base due to all kinds of election machinations and all that. Then and I have a lot of confidence in him. I mean, a young man, very enterprising, very intelligent. Yes, Giorgio Pareado, very enterprising, very intelligent. I think he was appointed MCE when he was a little above 30, and he's not even 40 yet. And he has been, he's been an MC for 8 years. you know, an entrepreneur, and very, very, you know, hardworking. So I think that it's a good choice for the party, especially as we prepare for the 2020 general elections. And his deputies, Edem Agbana, fantastic young man. I mean, very, very hardworking, very, very enterprising, and ready, you know, to hit the ground and pursue whatever cause that is in the interest of the NDC. You have Ruth, and that is again woman empowerment. For us, it doesn't matter, and you don't have to be a man necessarily to become the youth organizer, because the youth is not made up of just men. So I was very happy when she put herself up, and she has also been voted. I mean, I am sad that my brother Alhaji Abio did not make it. He was also one person that I was hoping will get one of the slots as you know, the deputy youth organizers of our party, because of his experience of serving from the constituency to the region, where he served the northern region dedicatedly. Then the women organizership, I mean, fantastic. Dr. Hannah Bisu, you couldn't have gotten it wrong. And her deputy, Mamefua. So I am happy that, you know, the delegates made the choice that they made, and the task now is for them to live up to the expectations of the delegates. But, you know, as usual with our politics, and that is what has become of concern to many, the monetization of it is something that as a country we have to discuss dispassionately. And as politicians, we need to look at dispassionately. I mean, if you look at what happened during the NPP conference, the vulgar show of opulence and the you know, clear monetization of the system, you saw spectacles of that also at the youth conference of the NDC, and that should give any lover of democracy a cause to worry. You know, the fact that there is this monetization in our politics, and it is not showing any sign of abatement. Now, the question I have often asked is, who is guilty? Is it those who want the positions?
It was vote buying, right?
That's what I'm saying. Is it those who want the positions, who make these offers of largesse, or it is those delegates who vote, who expect and demand these things? So if you are going to deal with it, where do you start from? Is it those vying for positions that you need to deal with, or the voters that you need to deal with? Because if you look at, like I have said, what happened during the NPP conference, where, you know, the opulence was vulgar, the vote buying was abominable.
You just said it was vote buying at your place.
You didn't hear me. That's why I'm repeating. I noticed that you were absent-minded. I'm repeating for you to hear. That, look, if you look at what happened during the NPP conference, you saw spectacles of that. You know, at the you can't say more because you didn't see a bars there.
We'll show some of the pictures.
No, you didn't see a bars there. Did you see a bars there? You can't say more. That's why I'm saying spectacles of that. But you see,
a bus is the ultimate culmination of.
So far, it's the highest gift we have seen. It's the highest offer for vote buying we have seen, isn't it? So I'm saying that, but let us not reduce it to that comparison. That is not the issue. The issue is that it is in the politics.
For all the political parties that we have in our country, that's the whole point at the end of the day.
That's what I'm saying, Roland. So let us not reduce it to the highest or the lowest, but let's look at it as a problem that has to be addressed. Beyond all the subject
of electing leaders and the political parties trying as much as possible to get their officers in place, how do we check the issue of vote buying? And some of the pictures we're going to show you: branded shoes, we have stoves being shared, we have electrical appliances being shared. During the recent regional elections, the Greater Accra chairman of the NDC had cause to worry that people were sharing gifts that were items just beyond the imagination of the normal eye.
Well, let me start by congratulating those that won the positions in the recent NDC elections. I believe that for the survival of every party, the strength of its wings and the organization, it's key. And I think I agree with him that the quality of individuals that emerged as winners is something that is positive. However, I'm not too sure whether Dr. Hannah Bisu, okay, was she the one that withdrew the hospital equipment when she lost the elections from the constituency?
It was speculated.
Oh, today they're speculated. You read something on the platform and you put it out as a fact. Okay, you know that she withdrew the hospital equipment. Now,
no, that's not true. That is not
when
true.
you are talking, I listen to you.
No, but you see,
when
she's not here.
I asked a question.
She's not here, Roland, and that's not fair.
I asked a question, okay, whether she was the one that withdrew the hospital equipment, okay, and you said that was speculated, but I'm sure that we can check.
Because she's not come forward formally too.
She has. I've listened to her on other platforms.
Well, from what I understand, that is what is supposed to have happened. And indeed, if these are the quality of people on the flip side, then I believe that there must be some growth as far as leadership is concerned. There must be some tolerance as far as leadership is concerned. On the issue of vote buying, I think I heard that the founder of the NDC was cautioning members of the NDC to avoid those that come with them for money to buy their votes, and that they should look beyond the money. I remember during the campaign in my constituency, one of the messages that was out there was that whoever it is that comes to give you money, take the money, but vote with your conscience and vote for what is right. So to Suhini's point, that is it the person that is giving out the money that you should attack, or is it the person that accepts the money that you should attack or you should address? It's a bit difficult to identify one particular person to address, but it has a negative impact on our democracy, and it makes the voluntary activity of standing for public service, it makes it very expensive, and for me, I think that is a barrier. There are people that you talk to that you think that if this guy volunteered to put himself up for service, he will be a great asset, and the person's reaction will be that I don't have the money. Okay, and for me, I think that is a worrying development, and we should together, we should all come together to try and address it. I think the National Commission for Civic Education also has a lot of work to do in terms of educating. The various political parties also have a lot to do in terms of educating their members that it's not about who comes with the biggest bag, but it's about who it is that will be able to make a positive contribution to the development and growth of the party, who it is that will be able to take it up to the national level, who is it that will be able to rally the party and put it in good standing within the regulations of political party activity. So yes, that is a concern that we need to address going forward.
Does that not perhaps, even if it's just that we're just being speculative or making commentary, dilute the quality of personnel and leaders that would head the parties? Because somebody may choose, like for example, you said in 2016 the refrain was that if they bring the money, take the money and don't vote. But
no, it wasn't take the money and don't vote. Take the money
and don't vote for the person.
No,
vote for quality.
Yes, good. Vote for the person that
who has a quality.
Who has the quality, has put out the right message, and the person that you believe can make the difference.
You know, Roland, the issue that you have raised, I think that sometimes my observation is that, and I can be wrong, forgive me, these delegates are discerning, or voters in general are discerning. So far, I have not seen the use of money or material things compromise voters to some extent.
In terms of choosing who
In terms of
they think is
choosing
the right
who
person.
they think is the right person.
Okay.
Mostly what I have noticed is that sometimes they already know who the right person is, but they require that right person to motivate them in a certain way. Do you get it? So if you are not the right person, what I've noticed in many congresses and elections is that if you are not the right person, you can have a house full of money. They will spend the money, they will take the resources, but they won't vote for you. I don't know if you agree with me. Look, you can have all the resources. If they know that, or if they decide that you are the one they will vote against, they will take it all, but they will vote against you. And if you are also somebody that they know or believe can do the work and you are the person they want to vote for, it doesn't mean you won't give anything, or it doesn't mean they won't ask you to do anything.
Nothing is for free.
But in the end, they will still choose the one they want. So that is why I'm saying that.
Even though they'll still collect.
Even though they'll still collect. That's why I'm saying that it is a chicken and egg situation. But perhaps the bigger picture has to do with what reward systems exist for people who work for parties at the basic level, at the branch level. If you do not identify a correct system of reward, where the person knows that as I work for the party in this way, there is this recognized standard of reward that will come to me, it is going to be opportunities like this that they will also use to, reward themselves. Even though it is unacceptable, it must be discouraged. We cannot just do so without an alternative. And the alternative has to be with us all understanding why are we doing that. I mean, some people counter what I have said about reward system by saying that, look, we have volunteers that work for churches.
So why can't they
and when they volunteer and work for the churches, they do not expect any reward. So why is it that when they say they are volunteering for the party to work for the party, they expect this reward? And then the counter to that, I say, is that the person working for the church is assured of heaven or God's mercy. That is, so you see, there's an issue that has to be addressed, but no party can run away from the influence of money or materials in the course of elections these days, and that is worrying.
Well, we have to move on. And,
but I think again, going to the level of having branded loafers and stuff like that, I think there's a bit of opulence being demonstrated, and we should all guard against.
He says the pinnacle was the
bus,
was the promise of
buses.
the bus.
No, but beyond that, Roland, I don't even want to. The branding of the loafers.
Stop what you're doing. Can I finish my submission?
I saw the loafers.
Roland,
I saw the loafers. But what I didn't see, Roland, is that I didn't see an NDC delegate holding it. I didn't see an NDC candidate holding it. Loafers, when you go for these party activities, people brand party, materials for sale. So how do we know? Because you just see a loafers in a box. How do we know that this was not one of the party materials on sale at that point? I have seen people actually holding, what do you call it? The tabletop cookers. That I cannot say didn't happen, because you have actually seen party people in party shirts holding it. But you see a loafers that is branded NDC. That is not held by anybody. It cannot conclusively be as because you didn't find anybody's picture on it. But you remember we had money, branded money.
I have tried.
Branded money. You remember?
During the
NPP Congress. Branded money.
I've tried not
bundles.
To be cutting in when he's making his submission, and out of respect that you would have also done same. Okay, I'm sure that your viewers want a quality program, and that is why we should also respect the viewers. When he's talking, I try not to interject, and I think that is most unfair that when I'm making a submission, you allow him to interject.
I'm sorry, sir. All right, but let's speak to Charles Danso. It's on the subject of perhaps a likely increment in transport fares or not. We're told that the GPR2 is expected to meet later today or by this afternoon to interact with the various leaders of transport organizations in this country. Now, the conclusion is that there could be a decision made to increase transport fares or not? We have a chairman of the Committed Transport Association of Ghana, Charles Danso, on the line. Good morning to you, Mr. Charles Danso.
Good morning, Roland.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay. Your association and the drivers under you, what's the decision you have made or not? And how have you monitored whether transport fares have been increased or not across the country or the operational areas?
Oh, okay. Good morning to your listeners. Thank you for giving me this opportunity this morning. You know, if we talk about transport fares, whenever we raise anything of transport, then GPIT come to cover for the government of the day. And as I'm speaking now, what has made us increasing the fares is, if you could recall, fuel prices are going up, or I may put it, it is galloping like a horse with no information. And, you know, in between 2015, you know, government was subsidizing fuel. And in between 2015, government removed its hand from importing fuel and crude, and then gave it to OMCs to bring it and then sell it at how they want it. So if there may be conversation between government and transport associations and unions, it has superseded. You see, if I say it has superseded, then that thing has gone passed away. Because when they make that, they give the power to the OMCs. We don't have to consult any government before we can increase our fares. Do you get me?
I get you. So have you monitored across any of the operational areas or the communities or the regions across Ghana to ascertain whether transport fares have been increased, or have your members started charging increased fares, so to speak?
Yeah, they started. As I'm speaking now, you know, we were having some issues with Nkoko MC. That is Honorable Ado. You see, we were having some issues between the drivers and the MC because the approved fare, which came 2016, 2017, this honorable went on radio to sensitize or tell the public not to pay that fare. And as I'm speaking now, you see where petrol price has gone to. So as I'm speaking now, Nkoko has started giddy. They are collecting. Previously they have to take 1 cedi, 50% to 1 cedi, 70 pesos, which is documented. But this man went and told the public not to pay that money. So they were taking 1 cedi and then 1 cedi 20 pesos. So as I'm speaking now, Nkoko is
okay. But do you know by what percentage the fares have been increased, or is just arbitrary?
We have to take about 20% now. We have to take 20%.
Okay. Are you going to dialogue with the GPRTU, perhaps to come to some consensus, since they are the leading umbrella body, even though your group and other groupings also lead various commercial transport operators? We
cannot dialogue with GPRTU because we know GPRTU is a government machinery. We cannot dialogue with GPRTU. You see, we Ghana Committed Drivers Association, because we know the Constitution is guiding everybody for freedom of association and freedom of movement. So we have our association and we don't report to GPRTU. We are drivers on the road and we can never dialogue with GPRTU. Is it not not understanding that nowadays ant is creating a path for an elephant to pass through? You see, do you get me?
Charles, I get you.
Now,
if you want to say this proverb or this idiom in Tree, how would you say it?
They haven't thought of increasing any fare, but when we stood up to increase our fares, then they have to go and then judge with the government and their cronies.
So you are leading the way, and you know they will follow.
They will follow. They will by all means follow.
Well, thank you very much, Charles Danso. Charles Danso is the chairman for the Ghana Committed Drivers Association, and so we'll have more conversation with them. But also what we're getting from the line, speaking to the leaders of the GPRT who have formally decided not to speak to us, is that they are going to have a conversation or a meeting this afternoon. They'll come to some conclusions on or whether they have to increase fares. But as I said, it looks like, well, let's see how it goes, because the umbrella body is the GPRT ultimately. But we have to have the discussion. So just your wrap-up comment on this.
Well, I mean, before I wrap up on this one, I would like to commend the government for the allocation of vehicles to the police service.
Yes, 200 new vehicles for police.
Yes, 200 new vehicles is in line with the commitment of His Excellency the President to provide the police service with the requisite resources to be able to make them do their work. And indeed, you will recall that when we came into power, we had to renegotiate the deal on the fleet of vehicles, the presidential fleet. And one of the reasons that we gave was for us to be able to provide some vehicles out of that allocation, get some more vehicles that would assist the police in doing their work. And I think that now that this has actually come to light, it's a positive move by the government. I pray that the police administration would find these resources very useful and would assist them to maintain law and order in the country. And they should also be careful about the maintenance of these vehicles. One of the issues that we tend to suffer in this country is about the culture of maintenance, and it's sad sometimes when you see these new vehicles and you see them broken down because we are not putting in place a proper maintenance routine or proper maintenance arrangement. And I think that with these vehicles we should make sure that there's a proper maintenance arrangement in place to make sure that they go forward. On the issue of transport fares, I think you have said yourself that DPRT may be meeting on this matter. I think that there's a process and there's a formula that is in place to trigger discussions on increases on transport fares. And I believe that the institutions responsible for this are following those directives, and let's listen to the outcome of their meeting, and then we'll be able to comment on it going forward.
Well, thank you very much. Because we don't have time, Alhassan can make his wrap-up comments on the subject.
Seriously?
Yes, it's serious.
Roland.
Alhassan Suhuyini is a member of parliament for Tamale North. Thanks for joining me, Alhassan.
You are not welcome.
I've enjoyed the conversation this morning. And Nenyi Georgianda is a Deputy Minister of Communications, Member of Parliament for Ewutu Senior West. We're taking a break. When we come back, we're having our award winners. You know, JoyNews, out of 10 awards that the multimedia group won, JoyNews had 7. Solomon Jojo Kopna, Seth Kwame Boateng, Latif Idris, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, and Esmenu, all of them already well cladded for this morning. We'll be right back.